back to WTF Cinema. Today I'd like to discuss with you the Die Hard scenario. I know I touched on this in my Skyscraper review, but I want to address it again. Why? Because it's the only time in this entire project that I get to feel like I'm actually using my film degree. In fact, it's pretty much the only time in my life I get to feel like I'm using my film degree. It's a common complaint in movies today that everything is remakes, or sequels, or reboots. And there's a reason for that. Movies are really expensive. I mean, really expensive. So, when you're approaching a movie studio and you say, hey, I have this new idea that nobody's ever heard of. Give me millions and millions of dollars to make it, and people might like it. You're not going to get as warm a reception as going to a movie studio and saying, hey, remember that thing that was really popular 5 years ago? What if we made one of those? Because it has a track record. People liked it. You could track the box office returns. They're more likely to make back their millions and millions of dollars. It's sad but true. Making movies is a business. Now, some of the smaller independent films, you can still find people making movies for the sake of art. And even in Hollywood, you can find people who have a passion for telling a good story. But by and large, the movie industry is an industry. It's a business. They're there to make money. What does this have to do with Die Hard? Well, when it came to pitching ideas for films, like I said, it's always easier to point at something else. And Die Hard was a lightning rod for this, because Die Hard turned out to be a much more successful movie than anybody had planned on. Its income was way out of proportion to its budget. It was a surprise hit, and it led to a wave of people going into offices and saying, let's make a movie that's like Die Hard but on an airplane. Let's make a movie that's like Die Hard but with Anna Nicole Smith. Let's make a movie that's like Die Hard, but with Jean Claude Van Damme in a hockey rink. That's what we're doing today. This is sudden death. We open with hot firefighting action. So the takeaway from this scene is that Jean Claude was an ace firefighter, but then there was an accident where a little girl died in a fire and he lost his nerve, I guess? And became a fire inspector instead. Now, it's pretty early on in the review for me to go on one of my really long, wild rants, so we're going to wait a couple of minutes before I do that, but it's coming. And now it's 2 years later, and we see that the local hockey rink is getting ready for the last game of the Stanley Cup, and we learn that the Vice President of the United States himself will be in attendance. This is exciting. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, a squad of terrorists steal a security company's car so that they can pretend to be working security at the hockey rink. Well, we aren't told that. We aren't told that that's who they stole the car from, was hockey rink security. But it'd be kind of silly for that scene to be in this movie and them not working at the hockey rink, since that's the whole point. We cut back to our hero to see how he's dealing with that devastating event 2 years later. He's arrived at his ex-wife's house to take his son and daughter to the hockey game because he managed to score last-minute tickets. It's not his night for custody, but the stepfather realizes that, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It's the son's favorite team. It's the last game of the Stanley Cup. So the stepfather agrees to let Jean-Claude take the kids, even though the mom's not sure about it. And I would like to give this movie credit for avoiding the evil stepfather trope. His daughter teaches him how to say, I love you in sign language, except I don't think that's really it. I only bring this up because it'll be an actual plot point later on, plus it reminds me of the first Mad Max movie.
What's that?
Crazy about you.
And now we're going to address the stupidity of that scene before, because I can't sit on a rant like this for too long. He reveals to his kids that he got the tickets because he's now working as a fire inspector, and he'll be working the arena that night, so he'll be splitting his time between the kids and his fire inspector duties. His son is massively disappointed in his father for being a fire inspector instead of a firefighter. Let's be perfectly clear here. Firefighters are heroes. Brave men and women doing a job, but the love of God I would not do. God bless them. I am in no way implying that a fire inspector is more important than firefighters. Firefighters are crucial. They are heroes. But let's talk facts. I actually looked this up. I did research for this because, if I was writing a movie, I'd spend 5 minutes on research of things too. Fire inspectors get paid more than firefighters. It also requires years of specialized training and a higher level of education than firefighters. Again, not saying it's a better job or that it's superior to firefighters, but it does have higher requirements to get the job. When you combine that with the fact that he's less likely to die as a fire inspector than a firefighter, you realize this is really what everybody in the family should prefer. I get the idea of it being cool that my dad's a hero, but you know what's even cooler is my dad's not going to die today. And he makes more money, and he gets special perks like hockey tickets. More money, less risk, more specialized training, so it's harder to be. And yet, he acts for the rest of the movie like his dad is a loser now for getting a promotion. For moving up the chain, his dad is now a complete and utter loser. And it's so... Ladies, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Unless we've got some kind of absent or abusive father, most boys grow up thinking our dad is like a superhero. So the idea of this character looking at this man who got a promotion, who makes more money and is more likely to come home at the end of the day as a loser, is just wild. Beyond my imagination. He got a promotion that he worked for and earned, but the movie insists on treating this like it's a tragic backstory. Because this is what he became after that girl died in his arms. That girl died in his arms, so he got promoted and got paid more money and took a position with less risk. What the hell is that? I'm so sad what happened to my dad. He used to be all manly, but then he studied and worked hard and got a better paying job where he's less likely to die. He's such a loser now. Yes, firefighters are the more heroic vision. But don't you want... First of all, making more money is good when you've got a family. It's good whenever, but let's be honest. When you're supporting a family, more money is good. Perks are cool. Perks like, tickets to the hockey rink. And the fact that every time there's a fire, you don't have to worry that your dad's gonna die. These things make my dad a loser. We see some more of the terrorist operation, which involves smuggling in guns and bags of popcorn and disguising terrorists among the catering staff and the security staff. Look at the size of the kitchen in this hockey rink. I mean, seriously, look at it. And you see chefs fixing salad and loaves of breads and all sorts of things. Okay, I'll admit, I don't go to sporting events that often. It's pretty much just the roller derby for me. But when's the last time you went to a hockey game and you got yourself a nice chef's salad and a French loaf? Okay, I know the people in the boxes probably have access to better food, but are there enough people in boxes to warrant a kitchen this size? I've seen full-fledged restaurants with smaller kitchens. This is nuts. Oh, and we're taught that the head chef is the only person who has the okay to let people onto the elevator to the vice president's special box. Because when you're dealing with the vice president of the United States and security is on the line, you can't do any better than the head chef at a hockey rink as your final line of defense. Elsewhere in the arena, Jean Claude hands his daughter off to a friend of his who turns out to be the mascot for the Penguins. Hell, I didn't know this was a female empowerment movie. And right about here is where I can make a really timely joke about females playing roles that are traditionally male, specifically like the Doctor, which is a big thing right now. But I refuse to even pretend to be that stupid. Women can be anything they want to be, and if that includes prancing around on ice skates as a penguin, more power to them. Meanwhile, the son is completely starstruck because he gets to meet all of his hockey heroes in the locker room. And I want to point out the only reason he's able to do this, the only reason the little twerp is getting the VIP treatment, is because his father is the fire inspector, a job which the kid holds in disgust. The terrorist truck arrives and they start moving in the bag of popcorns with weapons hidden inside. And can I just say, that place has like a 5-star kitchen, but they're bringing in popcorn made off-site by a truck. It seems like a really weird set of priorities to me. What if you took one of your salad stations away and made it so you popped your own popcorn? Because really, at a hockey game, what are you more likely to sell out of? The Cobb salad or popcorn? The terrorists have sent an agent of theirs to the head chef's house so that he can call and say, hey, if you don't let our guys into the box, we're going to kill your wife. This is reason 1 out of 100 why it's probably a bad idea to let the head chef be the final arbiter of who does and doesn't get security clearance around here. After getting the terrorists in place, they kill the woman anyway, and the head chef, which is probably why you shouldn't negotiate with terrorists. Hans Gruber here is the leader of the terrorists, and he spends about 15 minutes rambling nonsense, and then refuses to tell the vice president what his demands actually are. I think this time is meant for us to start to have a love-to-hate relationship with the villain because he's so erudite and educated and well-spoken. But he can't actually tell me what he wants, so I have no idea what kind of villain he actually is. So until you can tell me his desires, his plans, you're kind of wasting your time and my time in trying to get me to like this guy. Jean Claude tells his kids to stay in their seats because he's got to go do some work, but he'll be back before the end of the first period. He emphasizes to his kids over and over, do not get out of these seats for any reason. Man, I hope they don't have to go to the bathroom or anything while he's gone for like 20 minutes. Oh, and in case you thought I was kidding about how disgusted the kid is at his father's new job.
What's Daddy gotta do? Probably change more light bulbs. I thought you said firemen don't do that kind of stuff. Dad's not really a fireman anymore, Emily.
That's right. He's not. He's in a job that pays better and has perks like you getting into the locker room of your favorite team and getting tickets to the last game of the Stanley Cup. You miserable little runt! Hans Gruber finally reveals his plan. He wants the VP to unfreeze several bank accounts that the U.S. has frozen in other countries. He then wants the VP to move the money from those accounts into a new account, at least 1/3 of the money every period of the game. And now you can see why he didn't want to tell his plan ahead of time. He wanted to wait until like halfway through the first period. Because when you're making an arbitrary timeline, you want to make sure to give them as little time to comply as humanly possible. Also, I'm not sure why this weird timing is in place. It's not like the dollars have to be moved one at a time, although throughout the course of this movie we will see little charts of the bank account slowly draining out. That's not how bank transfers work. You unfreeze the account, you tap transfer, this account, enter, all the money is gone. Oh, and Hans has apparently planted guns and bombs all over the arena. So yeah, being a little jerk about his dad's promotion causes Jean Claude's daughter to run off. These kids are really going to need names, huh? How about Emily for the girl, because that's her name in the movie, and Douche Nozzle for the boy, because that's what he is in the movie. In the bathroom, Emily discovers that the mascot has been replaced by one of the terrorists, because they have the VP completely under their control. Bombs are being put throughout the stadium. Everything's going completely according to plan, so of course they kill and replace the mascot, because once you control the mascot in a sporting event, you control everything. Also, up until this point, all of the people that they've killed have been hidden from public view. This dead body was in an unlocked booth in the bathroom. People are going to find it. In fact, that's our problem here. The little girl finds it. So, not only do you have everything you need under control, now you're taking control of the mascot, because that's the power play right there. That's the good move. But you're leaving the body of the mascot in a bathroom stall where anybody can find it. That might tip them off that something's going on. Since Emily found the body, she's grabbed by the terrorist. See, This is why you don't leave your bodies out. Now Jean Claude Van Damme is coming for you. Speaking of Jean Claude, he shows up and learns that Emily has gone to the bathroom. So he berates Douche Nozzle for a while about how, under no circumstances, no matter what happens, do you get out of this chair for any reason ever. I don't care what happens, you stay in your seat. This will come up later. Jean-Claude spots Emily being dragged along by the penguin. And so the chase is on. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. I can't afford to pay for the music. Do-do-do-do-do-do. The penguin manages to get the girl into the elevator before Jean-Claude catches up and delivers her to Hans Gruber. Emily tells Hans how her dad is a big bad fire inspector and he's gonna rescue her. Also, one of the hostages points out that her dad must be the fire marshal, even though he's been called an inspector all this time. So just to be safe, I did more research. Fire marshals make even more money than fire inspectors. So Douche Nozzle is still a moron. Okay. Coming up is one of two truly, incredibly epic and stupid scenes in this movie. I wish I could just show you the whole thing, but that's not what the show is. This is a review. I don't just sit here and riff on the movie as it's going on. So I morally feel I can get away with just showing you clips. I can show you some highlights from this scene so you know what I'm talking about. And I'll tell you this, if you Google it, you can find the entire clip on YouTube fairly easily. Jean Claude Van Damme, sudden death, penguin fight. Because when Jean Claude confronts the mascot and realizes she's not the real mascot, the two of them have a fight to the death in the kitchen. Just so we're clear, I'm about to show you clips of Jean Claude Van Damme fighting a woman in a penguin costume in the kitchen of a hockey arena to the death. You are not ready for this. I can't believe how serious and dramatic they try to make it. It should have cartoon sound effects going on underneath. How does Jean-Claude not stop from laughing his way through this entire sequence? This scene is beautiful. This scene is amazing. And I want this scene to be in every movie. We get a new character here. Secret Service Agent Hallmark, who will serve as our hostage negotiator for a while. There's nothing else of any interest in this scene except for our main villain chewing his way through every piece of scenery he can. Jean discovers another undercover agent and has yet another fight in the kitchen. Seriously, how are you going to top the previous penguin battle? This is just stupid now. So he learns that there are bombs planted all throughout the building before taking out the terrorist with a half-eaten turkey leg. When Jean-Claude discovers the body of the actual penguin mascot, he teaches us all a very important lesson. When you discover a dead body, it is your duty to move it and get your DNA all over that crime scene. That makes it much easier to get justice for your dead friend. Our hero finally manages to get hold of a cell phone and uses it to contact 911, who patch him into Hallmark, and they have the standard, "I'm gonna go rogue. Don't be a hero, blah, blah, blah." And then bombs start going off in the parking lot. Jean-Claude says he'll find all the bombs in the stadium by himself. The Secret Service then attempts to drop agents in via helicopter, but Hans has a man stationed on a nearby roof with a rocket launcher to put a stop to that. The funny thing though, the rocket doesn't hit either of the helicopters. No, you can very clearly see the rocket hitting the rope the guy is lowering himself down on. The helicopters both fly away fine, but since a rocket explosion hit a rope, it severed the rope and the guy falls to his death. Who knew that shoulder-mounted rocket launchers were so precise that you could target a rope from a couple blocks away? That's pretty damn impressive. And so, using the super special powers granted to all fire inspectors, Jean-Claude starts finding and disarming bombs, because apparently being a fire inspector, part of that is training for locating and diffusing explosive devices. Also part of fire inspector training is how to be MacGyver, because Jean-Claude takes a brief break in the metal shop so that he can rig up a little air gun that shoots a nail out of his sleeve. Seriously, how does a firefighter or a fire inspector know how to do this well enough to construct a working rig on the first try in like a minute? If you put me in a metalworking workshop and said construct a weapon, it would take me more than 60 seconds to come up with air shot powered nail gun. Alright, there's a genuinely funny scene here, and I do like to give movies credit when they do something genuinely good. Jean-Claude disarms a bomb just as a terrorist arrives, so he turns around to the terrorist holding the C4 and says, "Don't shoot me, I'm holding C4, very powerful explosive." And the guy says, "That's not how C4 works. Without a detonator, that's completely harmless." Which is true. So then Jean-Claude kills him with the one-shot nail gun, and turns just in time for another terrorist to show up. And again, Jean-Claude goes, "I am holding a very powerful explosive. Don't shoot me." Then Hallmark shows up, knocks that guy out. And then Jean-Claude turns to Hallmark, not knowing if he's a good guy or a bad guy, and says, "Look, do you believe me that this is C4 and it's really dangerous? 'Cause it is." It's a cute little scene. I rather enjoyed it. Especially because it's one of the few times, like, characters pointed out fact over drama. Yes, C4 without a detonator in it is completely harmless. You can jump up and down on it, you can light it on fire, ain't nothing gonna happen. I was actually a little proud of the movie for getting that correct. Hallmark meets up with Hans Gruber, revealing that he's a double agent. Okay, that reveal should be shocking, but it's just dumb. First of all, why have him reveal he's a secret agent here, in this way? If you'd hold on to it for 5 minutes, the audience could find out when Jean-Claude found out. Right? Then it's dramatic, because then there's a risk. This is spoiling the secret with no payoff. Where, if in the middle of fighting terrorists, Hallmark just turns to him and goes, "Oh, by the way, I'm one of them, bang," that's dramatic. That's something. But no, telling the audience 5 minutes before the hero knows just puts us ahead of the hero, which makes the hero seem kind of dumb. Second, why is he a double agent? He has spent this entire movie trying to block Hans Gruber, which, fine, part of the plot. Except he has sent men in to raid the hockey rink, and those men died. He has been killing people to maintain his cover. He has been murdering people for no reason. Because anybody would believe that he isn't a double agent because he's negotiating and talking. You don't have to kill people to prove your cover. You're just killing people for no reason. And at one point, he even tried to prevent the money from being transferred. So you're a double agent who's actively working against the primary agent? Just to solidify your deception? Also, why didn't you kill Jean Claude Van Damme when you had a chance? It was just the two of you alone down there. You had a gun, he had nothing. At one point, his back was turned to you. Would have been super easy to kill him. When the other terrorists showed up, instead of you guys getting split up, you just turn and kill him. Hallmark is the worst double agent ever. While Hallmark has Jean-Claude literally at gunpoint, Jean-Claude very slowly pulls out a lighter and a squirt gun that he apparently filled with kerosene and proceeds to burn Hallmark alive. At no point in this process, this very slow, does Hallmark bother to pull the trigger. Hallmark has killed at least 10 agents so far, but apparently hesitated and let this guy very slowly raise up his squirt gun. I don't know why. Also, apparently, Hallmark is made of oil, because as soon as the flame touches him, he goes up like a bonfire instantaneously. If the squirt gun is really that effective, wouldn't the flame also travel back up the squirt gun and explode in Jean-Claude's hands? Where are the Mythbusters when you need them? And then we get this really stupid part, where in order to escape some terrorists, Jean-Claude disguises himself as the goalie of one of the teams, blocks a shot, then uses that sign language from the beginning of the film, I told you it was a plot point, to communicate to his son in the stands that it's really him. And at that point, seeing his father save the day as the hockey goalie, his son gains a little bit of respect for him. Which goes to further the whole point that the kid is a moron. I'd like to be real with you here for a minute. My father was in sales. He was a salesman. He sold kitchenware to restaurants and whatnot. It's what he did my entire life. He was okay at it. I mean, he did a good job. He made a good living. He supported his family with it. He was not a fireman. He was not a hockey player. I loved him anyway. I loved him because he was my dad, and he cared for me, and he raised me, and he was a good man. He was an example of what a man should be. He was a good person. His career had nothing to do with his character. I couldn't have thought more of my dad if he was a firefighter, because my dad was my hero. And I certainly didn't think less of my dad because his job wasn't stereotypically heroic. Maybe I'm weird. Maybe that's just me. But by and large, I don't judge people by the job they do, but by the person they are. I don't know if you can tell, but I despise this kid. My favorite part of this entire idiotic sequence, despite the fact that none of his teammates can tell that it's really Jean Claude underneath all those pads and helmets, and the fact that everybody in the auditorium really believes he's really the goalie, the terrorists, who have never gotten a solid look at his face because he's always been running and in motion, the terrorists are able to tell that from a distance, through the helmet, that's Jean Claude Van Damme. That's the guy we're looking for. Even though we've never seen what he looks like, I can tell it's him through the helmet, despite the fact that thousands of other people, including the teammates of the guy who were standing right next to him, can't tell the difference. After evading them, and with mere minutes left before bombs start going off, Jean Claude takes the time to completely change his clothes and shoes, because what's the rush, really? Luckily, the game ties at the last second, and we go into sudden death. This is lucky for Jean Claude, because it means he has a little bit more time to deal with the terrorists, and it's lucky for us, because otherwise we wouldn't have a title for our movie. Giving up on finding all the bombs in the short amount of time that's left, Jean Claude settles for breaking into the VIP box from above by using a specialized explosive, causing everybody in the audience to freak out and flee for safety. Well, I say everyone. That's right, because his dad said to stay in his seat no matter what. Douche Nozzle literally stays in his seat as stuff is exploding and everybody is running out of the auditorium screaming, "Jesus Christ, kid, what is your problem?" Let's speed this up a little bit. Jean Claude kills all the terrorists except for the leader, who gets away, and he manages to save his daughter. Jean Claude runs against the crowd to get back into the auditorium to get his son. Seriously, if I were him, it would never even occur to me that my son might still be in the stadium. Everyone is running and screaming. There are explosions and gunfire, and I would never assume my son was so abysmally stupid as to stay in his seat when thousands of other people are running for their lives. I'd assume he'd be running with everybody else. I'd assume hopefully he'd be looking for like a cop. I'd hope I'd raised my kid well enough to know if you're in danger and you're alone, find a cop. But apparently I'd have been wrong. He would have died if he'd been my son, because there the boy is, still sitting in his seat, so proud of himself for listening to his dad and not getting up.
I didn't move, Dad. I didn't move. Not even when things blew up. I didn't move.
My poor dumb son! Hans manages to grab Emily again and hauls her off as a hostage again. I mean, sure, he could have simply disappeared in all this confusion and gotten away, but why do that? Anyway, he has a helicopter waiting for him on the roof. Jean Claude gets his daughter back and decides he's had enough of this. So he grabs the ladder for the helicopter as it's getting away and shoots the pilot through the bottom of the helicopter, which leads us to the second of the most epic and stupid scenes in this movie. Ladies and gentlemen, I show you now the stupidest helicopter crash in cinema history. Yes, since the pilot is dead, the helicopter falls straight down, backwards through the opening in the stadium, which is not remotely wide enough for the rotor blades, but it magically is. And the whole thing falls slowly enough, straight down, with rotor blades spinning. Because we all know, once a helicopter pilot dies, like mid-flight, a helicopter just goes, whoop, zoom. But it falls slowly enough that Jean Claude and Hans Gruber have time to make eye contact and look at each other as he plummets past. I can't explain how monumentally stupid this scene is. I can't. It is so stupid that all you can do is laugh at it. Because it defies pretty much every law of physics there is about helicopter flight. And our movie ends with Jean-Claude being wheeled away by medics as his son talks about how brave he is, what a hero he was, and how he's a fireman. Dude, he's not a fireman. Really? Like, the son's arc is hate my dad, hate my dad, hate my dad. Hey, cool, look, hockey players hate my dad, hate my dad, hate my dad, all because of his job. Then sees his dad block what would be a game-ending goal, gets some respect from his dad. Hey, I hated my dad all this time, but he can play hockey really well, so I have some respect for him. His dad ends up saving both of them, and so at the end of the movie, the way of showing us, the audience, that his son has grown and changed is for his son to go, no, my dad still is a hero. He's still a fireman. No, he's not. His profession has nothing to do with his heroism. Because I gotta tell you, fire inspector doesn't sound like the most heroic job title. It's still an important job. But the man was a hero anyway. He could have been a hero had he been an accountant. He could have been a hero had he been a painter. It all is about the character of the person and not the profession they have. Honestly, what's funny to me is despite the crazy amount of stupidity in this movie, it's the son's attitude to his father that bothers me the most. Because it makes no sense. I lost all respect for my dad because he got a promotion. He's just not cool anymore. I hate that guy. Wow, look at all these cool, fun, unique perks I get that I wouldn't get if my dad had his old job. Hate that guy. Hate his new job. The villain's plan is simple and straightforward, but delivered in such a complex, I'm going to wait until we're halfway through the first period to tell you you have one period to get all this out. You've got Hallmark killing people for no reason, except the hero when he's got the chance. You've got a hero fighting a penguin who's also a MacGyver expert and magically has the ability to guess where they would plant bombs in a building. This movie is just dumb. It is so dumb. But apart from the kid, it's actually pretty entertaining. I gotta be honest. It is good fun. It is silly and stupid. I saw this as a surprise screening in a movie theater. With a group called Master Pancake here in Austin. They do Mystery Science Theater style riffing, and they had special guests, Trace Ballou and Frank Conniff from Mystery Science Theater the night this aired. And they didn't really have to work too hard with the jokes, because the audience was laughing their ass off at this movie. If you're looking for some really stupid, cheesy action, this is good times. Apart from the obnoxious kid. I know I'm supposed to be all worked up and upset here at the end, but apart from the idiotic freaking kid, this is just stupid, stupid fun. Anyway, I'll see you guys later.